Thank you for staying with us here on Going Beyond. I'm talking with Harry Maclure right here with me in the studio. Now, Harry, you were talking about so many different things that you do. Is there any one little bit of advice that you might like to give anybody who's watching us about being creative, about how they can stay creative, how they can make a living by being creative?
Yeah, see, it's a tough call, Jenifer, because when I was younger, and I started off doing a lot of creative work, I still held on to my job in the hotel industry. I held on to a job where I got a monthly salary.
Yes.
And I think youngsters today, if they want to do express themselves creatively, they shouldn't take the plunge immediately. See how it goes, but hold on to the job. I think that's the advice that I like to. Even though I was 33 years old when I threw up a good job and took the plunge and became an all-round creative person, I tasted some success early in my life, and I still make a living on being creative.
Right.
But I think it does not happen with any and everybody. You have to really prove yourself and work hard, relentlessly work hard, and then you can see some fruits of your work.
Right. What about the fact that if you're a wannabe writer and you send out, say, an article and it gets rejected, in fact, most of the people who have made it in the publishing world have actually had manuscripts thrown back at them.
Yes.
So that requires, Harry, don't you think, a real level of persistence of hanging in there?
Correct.
What do you think?
See, let's take, for instance, the author of the Harry Potter series.
Yes.
Now,
J.K.
Rowling.
Yes.
She sent her manuscript to 22 publishers before someone believed in her work and published her. And then it went on to become such a great phenomenon.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
So I think a writer should be humble and also not too sensitive about getting rejected. I still, you may not believe it, I still have a bundle of rejection letters in my office just to prove that I went through the mill.
Right.
So now I get invited to write for some publication or for some magazine. But in those days, you had to just send out your manuscripts to all and sundry. Only then you probably send out 10 short stories and one gets published somewhere. So, and there's not much money in, especially in India, as you rightly said before.
Right.
There's not much money till you become a Chetan Bhagat or some person who can earn from the writing.
Right, but I think, Harry, that applies to almost every profession.
Yes.
When you've been at it a long time and then you've made it and you're in that top rung, that's a different story, I think.
Yes.
In terms of young people being actually thick-skinned about getting rejection, I often wonder that that's sometimes a very difficult thing to deal with.
It's very hard. It's very hard because you can deal with it once, twice, thrice, but then when it repeatedly keeps coming back at you and doors keep shutting in your face, then that's very hard. And I think lots of young writers could go into some kind of depression also. It's not uncommon. But I think persistence pays.
I agree with you on that one.
You just do what you're doing and do it passionately. Sometimes you have to even write just for yourself. Don't write for the millions out there. Just write, and if you like that stuff, one fine day some publisher or an editor would like that same piece of work, and he or she would publish it.
Right.
So my advice to youngsters who want to be writers is keep writing.
And I also think that being rejected, I think it creates a hurdle, but it's a hurdle that's before you, which if you crossed it, that gives you a great sense of satisfaction.
Yes, definitely.
Isn't it? Especially here in television, when you get a bad rating or something, you have to deal with that. And I think now, Harry, all of your work, from what our conversation has been about, has been very community oriented.
Yes.
I'm wondering, as we speak here today in the studio, if you've ever thought of going outside, spreading yourself a bit.
See, Anglo Inc. has reached a stage where we started taking in work from anybody across the globe.
Okay.
So I'm happy to share with you that we've got about 3 manuscripts in the pipeline in various stages of production. and they're all non-community oriented.
Right.
So I think we are on the right path now. And the way to go, even in the future, is to have also the same books online for people to read it on their devices.
Devices.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm planning to have our next stage in our business would be to have all our books, and including our magazine, they can read it online.
Right. Creatively and going forward, Harry, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Do you see yourself editing another magazine, or enhancing the one you're doing, or coming out with half a dozen books? I want to know. I know that creatively it's hard to tell what you might be doing, but you're a bit of a free spirit. Correct. I can see. Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. I think now I'm going to do a film. By end of this year, this film would be ready, and I don't know where that's going to take me. So who knows? I might get offers to write another script for a professional
Bollywood,
Hollywood.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Anything can happen. As you said, I am free-spirited and I accept anything that comes my way.
Right. So many different hats. You wear so many different caps. Of these, all of these, when you look back, which do you believe personally in your heart is the one that you've liked the best?
I always wanted to be a novelist.
Really?
Yeah. And
is there one in the pipeline?
There is one in the pipeline.
Really?
And I'm happy to tell you that...
What's it about, Harry?
Yeah, yet again, it's the dark theme. It's a supernatural story.
Oh, the ghost story.
The ghost story, which happens in a small little railway town in the south of India. So I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody.
Okay.
So
all right. I won't go on that route. But have you seen a ghost?
When I was young, yes.
Really?
Yep. And I don't know whether you believe this, but they say that when a kid or a baby is born with a wail, that kid can see a ghost better than a person who's not born with a wail. So this concept is an old aunt's tale, or whatever
whether
you
it
can
was
call
an old wives' tale, we don't know.
But I was born with a wail.
Okay, right.
So probably I can see ghosts.
But only one?
Only one, yeah.
Only one? No,
and that made me believe in the whole thing about, ghosts.
I think it does. It makes me not believe in it if it's only the one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I like to have that element flowing into my novel or the book that I'm finishing to frighten the wits out of our readers. Really? So that element sells the book.
Do you think there's a market for that?
Yes, there is a market for that. Definitely there's a market. And talk about Dean R. Koontz or even Stephen King and so many other writers before them. They all dabbled in the supernatural stories,
Well, Harry Maclure, it's been my pleasure, an absolute joy to talk to you today.
Thank you so much.
All the very best to you, and good luck.
Good luck.
I hope one day you'll be back in the studio with your ghost stories. Yeah. Well, it's been fun for me to be talking here with Harry Maclure, and I do hope that you've enjoyed listening to him. He has so much to tell us. So until the next time, here from Going Beyond team, all the very best. You take care for now.
Going Beyond, brought to you by IBHAR, Empowering Achievement.